Imagine it as the year 1900. A team of Greek sponge divers is battling the fierce currents off the coast of a tiny, rugged island called Antikythera. They're not looking for history, they're just trying to make a living. But one of them, a diver named Elias Stadiatis, surfaces in a panic. He babbles about a horrifying sight on the seabed, a pile of rotting corpses and dead horses. The captain, Dimitrios Kontos, thinks the diver has lost his mind from the pressure, a common danger in their line of work. But to calm his crew, he dives down himself to the same spot. What he finds isn't a gruesome graveyard, but something far more astonishing. He finds a shipwreck. Not just any shipwreck, but a Roman-era cargo vessel that sank over 2,000 years ago. The corpses were actually magnificent bronze and marble statues, their forms twisted and patinated by centuries under the sea. This was the discovery of a lifetime. Word quickly reached the Greek authorities, and the first major underwater archaeological expedition in history was launched. For nearly a year, despite dangerous conditions that tragically claimed the life of one diver and paralyzed two others, they worked tirelessly to bring the ship's treasures to the surface. They recovered breathtaking artifacts, exquisite glassware, beautiful pottery, and stunning bronze statues, including the famous Antikythera youth. These were the kinds of treasures that filled museums and rewrote history books. But amidst all this splendor, there was one object that was easily overlooked. It was a lump of corroded bronze, fused together with rock and marine life. It looked like nothing more than a piece of junk, so it was packed away with other less remarkable finds and sent to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. For 2 years, it sat in storage, ignored and forgotten. It wasn't until an archaeologist named Valerios Stay was examining the collection in 1902 that someone took a second look at this corroded lump. As he was cleaning it, a piece broke off, revealing something incredible inside: gears, a complex system of interlocking bronze gear wheels. This was completely baffling. Nothing like it had ever been seen from the ancient world. Complex gear trains were thought to be an invention of the 14th century in Europe, used in the great astronomical clocks of cathedrals. Yet here was a device that predated them by at least 1,500 years. The scientific community was stunned and deeply skeptical. How could the ancient Greeks, with their known technology, have created something so intricate? It looked more like a part from a modern clock than an ancient artifact. The gears were tiny, some with teeth barely a millimeter long. The object, which would come to be known as the Antikythera mechanism, was a profound anomaly, a piece of technology that seemed to be completely out of time and place. It raised a tantalizing question. What other secrets did the ancient world hold that we haven't even begun to imagine? This single, unassuming lump of bronze had just shattered our understanding of history. Initial theories were wild. Was it a navigational tool, a primitive clock? Some even whispered about alien technology, unable to accept that ancient hands could craft such a device. The problem was, the mechanism was in terrible shape. It was fragmented into 80 separate pieces, many incomplete, and all heavily corroded. Peering inside was almost impossible without destroying it. For decades, researchers were limited to what they could see on the surface, counting gear teeth and trying to guess how the broken parts might fit together. It was like trying to understand a supercomputer by looking at a few smashed fragments of its motherboard. The first breakthrough came in the 1950s with the work of a British science historian named Derek de Solla Price. He dedicated years of his life to studying the mechanism. Using early X-ray technology, he was able to peer inside the corroded fragments for the first time. The images were fuzzy, but they confirmed the incredible complexity of the gear system. Price painstakingly mapped the gears, proposing that the device was a kind of astronomical calculator, a mechanical cosmos that modeled the movements of the sun and moon. His theory was revolutionary, but many of his peers remained unconvinced. The idea was just too advanced, too radical. Decades passed, technology evolved. In the early 2000s, a new international team of scientists, the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project, decided to tackle the mystery with 21st-century tools. They brought in custom-built, cutting-edge imaging equipment. Using a technique called high-resolution X-ray tomography, they could essentially create a 3D digital model of the entire mechanism, revealing every hidden detail of its internal structure without ever touching the fragile original. They could see through the corrosion, separate the gears digitally, and read the faint inscriptions etched onto its surfaces. What they found was beyond anyone's wildest expectations. The mechanism was even more sophisticated than Derek Price had dared to suggest. It wasn't just tracking the sun and moon. It had a gear system that modeled the complex, variable motion of the moon, a feat of mechanical engineering that wouldn't be seen again for over 1,000 years. It could predict eclipses, both solar and lunar. It had a dial that tracked the dates of important athletic events, like the Olympic Games, and it had pointers for all 5 planets that were known to the ancient Greeks: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. This device wasn't just a calendar or a simple calculator. It was a portable, mechanical model of the entire known universe, as understood by the best astronomers of the Hellenistic period. You could turn a crank on the side, and the pointers on the front and back dials would move, showing the position of the celestial bodies on any given date, past or future. It was the world's first known analog computer. The inscriptions they uncovered were like a user's manual, explaining the different functions and astronomical phenomena displayed on the device. The implications are staggering. We often think of the ancient world in terms of philosophy, art, and architecture. We imagine great minds thinking great thoughts, but we rarely picture them building sophisticated machinery. The Antikythera mechanism forces us to reconsider everything. It proves that at least one group of ancient engineers possessed a level of mechanical expertise that we previously thought was impossible. It represents a lost branch of technology, a tradition that somehow vanished from history, only to be rediscovered millennia later. So, who could have built such a thing? The inscriptions and the ship's origin point towards the Greek world, possibly the island of Rhodes, which was a major center for astronomy and engineering. Some scholars have even speculated that the great astronomer Hipparchus, or perhaps even the legendary inventor Archimedes, could have had a hand in its design. While we can't be sure of the creator's identity, we know they were a genius, a master of both astronomy and mechanics. The story of the Antikythera mechanism is a powerful reminder that history is not a simple, linear progression. Knowledge can be gained, and it can also be lost. For over 1,000 years, the pinnacle of mechanical engineering lay dormant on the ocean floor, a silent testament to a forgotten age of ingenuity. It makes you wonder, what else is out there, waiting to be found? This single object continues to challenge our assumptions and inspire awe, proving that the past is full of surprises. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into a lost world of technology, be sure to like and subscribe for more stories that rewrite history.
History isn't just what happened, it's what was hidden. Welcome to the Chrono Archives. where lost empires rise again, forgotten legends speak, and ancient truths are brought back to life. From world-shaping history and powerful myths to legendary rulers and timeless civilizations, every story here is carefully uncovered, deeply researched, and cinematically told. The past is calling, will you answer? Subscribe and journey through time, one unforgettable chronicle at a time.
Have you ever heard the story of a man who supposedly single-handedly defended a city against the Roman army using giant claws and death rays? It sounds like something out of a superhero movie, right? But this isn't fiction. This is the story of Archimedes of Syracuse, perhaps the greatest mind of the ancient world. Let's travel back more than 2,000 years to the bustling port city of Syracuse on the island of Sicily. This was Archimedes' home. He wasn't a king or a general, he was a thinker. A mathematician, a physicist, an engineer, and an astronomer all rolled into one. His mind was a universe of numbers, shapes, and revolutionary ideas that were centuries ahead of their time. When people think of Archimedes, they often recall the famous Eureka moment. The story goes that he was tasked by King Hiero II to determine if a new crown was made of pure gold without damaging it. While taking a bath, he noticed the water level rising as he got in. He realized that the volume of water displaced was equal to the volume of his body submerged. In a flash of genius, he understood he could use this principle of buoyancy to solve the king's problem. Legend says he was so excited, he ran naked through the streets of Syracuse shouting Eureka, which means I have found it. In Greek, while this story is legendary, it beautifully illustrates his knack for observing the world and deriving fundamental scientific principles from everyday life. But his genius went far beyond bathtubs and crowns. Archimedes was a master of geometry. He calculated the value of pi with unprecedented accuracy, using a method that wouldn't be surpassed for over 1,000 years. He figured out how to calculate the area of a circle and the volume of a sphere. These weren't just abstract exercises, they were the building blocks of engineering. He famously said, "Give me a place to stand, and I will move the earth." This wasn't just a boast. It was a statement about the power of levers and pulleys, a principle he understood better than anyone. He could demonstrate how a single person could move a fully loaded ship using a system of compound pulleys, proving that with the right knowledge and tools, the impossible becomes possible. One of his most practical and enduring inventions is the Archimedes screw. Imagine a giant corkscrew inside a cylinder. When you turn it, it can lift water from a low level to a higher one. This simple yet brilliant device revolutionized irrigation and is still used in some parts of the world today for moving water and other materials. It is a perfect example of his ability to turn complex mathematical ideas into practical solutions that helped ordinary people. But perhaps Archimedes' most famous or infamous creations were his war machines. When the Roman Republic laid siege to his beloved Syracuse, he turned his brilliant mind to defense. Historical accounts, though sometimes embellished, describe a terrifying array of contraptions. There were massive catapults capable of hurling huge stones with incredible force and accuracy, sinking Roman ships from a distance. Then there was the legendary claw of Archimedes. Picture a giant crane-like arm mounted on the city walls, extending over the harbor. This machine would drop a massive grappling hook onto an enemy ship, lift it partially out of the water, and then either capsize it or drop it, smashing it to pieces. Roman soldiers, who were used to straightforward battles, were terrified. They said they were fighting against a mythological giant, not a man. And what about the death ray? The story claims Archimedes used a series of mirrors, or polished bronze shields, to focus sunlight onto the sails of Roman ships, setting them on fire from afar. For centuries, this was dismissed as pure fantasy. But modern experiments, including some by the show Mythbusters, have shown that while incredibly difficult, it might just be possible under perfect conditions. Whether he actually did it or not, the fact that the story exists speaks volumes about his reputation. People believed he was capable of anything. He had transformed the defense of a city into a showcase of scientific warfare. So, who was this man? Was he just a reclusive genius scribbling equations on sand? Evidence suggests he was much more. He likely ran a workshop, a kind of ancient research and development lab. This place would have been filled with gears, levers, scrolls, and prototypes, a hub of innovation where theoretical mechanics met hands-on craftsmanship. He wasn't just thinking about how the world worked, he was building it. He was laying the groundwork for complex mechanics, understanding how to combine simple machines to create complex systems. He was the original maker. His work bridged the gap between pure mathematics and practical application. He saw the universe as a set of solvable problems, governed by logical rules. His writings influenced countless thinkers, from Galileo to Newton. When his lost works were rediscovered during the Renaissance, they helped fuel a scientific revolution. Sadly, when the Romans finally broke through the defenses of Syracuse, Archimedes met his end. The Roman general had given strict orders to spare him, recognizing his immense value. But a soldier, either not knowing who he was or ignoring the order, found Archimedes engrossed in a mathematical diagram drawn in the sand. When the soldier disturbed him, Archimedes' last words were reportedly, "Do not disturb my circles." He was killed on the spot. The death of Archimedes was a tragic loss for the world. He was a beacon of knowledge in an age of superstition, a man whose mind operated on a different plane. He wasn't just the man behind the machines. He was the mind that saw the future, a future where mathematics and engineering could change the world. His legacy isn't just in the screw, the claw, or the principle of buoyancy. It is in the very spirit of scientific inquiry, the relentless pursuit of knowledge, and the belief that with reason and ingenuity, humanity can achieve the extraordinary. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey back in time, please like and subscribe for more stories about the minds that shaped our world. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to hold a 2,000-year-old computer in your hands? Well, that's essentially what the Antikythera mechanism is. This incredible device, recovered from an ancient shipwreck, wasn't just a pretty piece of bronze. It was a sophisticated astronomical calculator. So, what exactly was it built to do? Let's dive into the genius behind its gears. First and foremost, the Antikythera mechanism was an astronomical master clock. Its primary job was to predict the cycles of the sun and the moon. Imagine, over 2 millennia ago, someone could turn a dial and see exactly when the next full moon would occur, or how the sun's position in the sky would change throughout the year. The front dial, with its two concentric scales, showed the Greek zodiac and the Egyptian calendar days. A pointer for the sun would show the date, while another for the moon would not only show its position, but also its phase waxing, waning, full, or new. This was revolutionary. It meant you didn't have to be a seasoned astronomer making nightly observations. This device brought the heavens down to earth, making the cosmos predictable and understandable. But tracking the sun and moon was just the beginning. The mechanism's complexity goes much, much deeper. One of its most astonishing features was its ability to predict eclipses. On the back of the device, a large spiral dial tracked what's known as the Saros cycle. This is an 18-year, 11-day, 8-hour period that can be used to predict both solar and lunar eclipses. The dial had markings that would indicate not just that an eclipse was coming, but also what time of day it might happen, and even what it might look like. Think about the power this knowledge would give you in the ancient world. Eclipses were often seen as omens, signs from the gods. Having a machine that could predict them was like having a direct line to the divine, or more accurately, a profound understanding of the universe's clockwork precision. This spiral dial for eclipses is a marvel of engineering. It's not a simple circle. It's a 4-turn spiral, allowing hundreds of markings to fit into a compact space. As you'd turn the main knob on the side of the mechanism, a pin on a pointer would follow this spiral track, landing on specific glyphs that signified an upcoming eclipse. The level of detail is just staggering. It showed that its creators weren't just guessing. They had access to centuries of detailed astronomical data, likely from Babylonian astronomers, and they found a way to encode all of it into a symphony of interlocking gears. This wasn't just tracking celestial bodies. It was forecasting major celestial events with incredible accuracy. And it gets even more impressive. The mechanism didn't just model our sun and moon. Evidence suggests it also tracked the movements of the planets visible to the naked eye: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The ancient Greeks believed the Earth was the center of the universe, with everything revolving around it. Modeling the planets was incredibly tricky because they don't move in perfect circles across our sky. They appear to slow down, speed up, and even move backward, a phenomenon we call retrograde motion. How did a machine from 100 BC solve this? With an ingenious system of gears called an epicyclic gearing system, or a gear within a gear setup. This allowed the pointers for each planet to replicate their complex, wandering paths across the zodiac. It's a concept that wasn't thought to have been invented until the clockmakers of medieval Europe, more than 1,000 years later. Yet here it was, humming away inside this ancient bronze box. The device wasn't just showing where the planets were. It was modeling the accepted cosmological theory of its time, a geocentric model, but with a mathematical and mechanical precision that is simply breathtaking. So, when you put it all together, what do you have? You have a portable, mechanical calendar. It told you the date. It showed you the phase of the moon. It pointed to the positions of the sun and planets. It even gave you a heads up about the next Olympic Games, which were tracked on another small dial. The mechanism integrated various cycles: solar, lunar, and athletic into one unified system. It was the ultimate ancient day planner, connecting everyday life with the grand, sweeping movements of the cosmos. But calling it just a calendar feels like an understatement. It was truly the world's first analog computer. You would input a question by turning the knob, say, "What will the sky look like in 6 months?" And the gears would perform the calculations, moving all the pointers to their correct future positions. The output was a visual representation of the heavens on a specific date. It was a simulation machine. It turned abstract astronomical theories and tables of data into a dynamic, physical model that you could interact with and learn from. The purpose, then, wasn't just practical, it was also educational. Imagine a philosopher or a student using this to demonstrate the beautiful, ordered logic of the cosmos as they understood it. It was a tool for teaching, for discovery, and for marveling at the universe's intricate dance. It embodied the Greek passion for knowledge, for finding order in the chaos, and for creating technology that reflected the beauty they saw in the heavens. The Antikythera mechanism tells us that our ancient ancestors were not primitive. They were brilliant, sophisticated thinkers and engineers. They could manipulate bronze with the skill of a master watchmaker and harness complex mathematics to build a device so advanced its true purpose remained a mystery for almost a century after its discovery. It is a humbling reminder that the quest for knowledge and the drive to build incredible things is a timeless human endeavor. This single object has completely rewritten our understanding of the history of science and technology. So, the next time you look up at the night sky, remember that over 2,000 years ago, someone built a machine that could hold that very same sky in the palm of their hand. The Antikythera mechanism wasn't just designed to tell time. It was designed to model time, to predict the future, and to capture the magnificent clockwork of the universe in a box of bronze gears. It's a true masterpiece of human ingenuity. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this as fascinating as I do, hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the amazing history of science and technology. See you next as we explore the machine's complexity. Imagine stumbling upon a device so advanced it feels like it fell from the future, or maybe even from another world. That's exactly what it was like for the divers who discovered the Antikythera mechanism. Now, we're diving deep into another part of its story, the mind-boggling engineering that makes this ancient marvel tick. Forget everything you thought you knew about ancient technology. This wasn't just a simple tool. It was a masterpiece of mechanical genius. Let's start with the heart of the machine, its gears. We're not talking about a couple of simple cogs. Inside this shoebox-sized device, researchers have identified over 30 distinct, precision-cut gears. Think about that for a moment. More than 30 gears, each designed to mesh perfectly with the others, all working in concert. We can see them now in this incredible digital reconstruction, a complex dance of interlocking bronze teeth. The level of precision is just staggering. Some of these gears are tiny, with teeth barely a millimeter long, all handcrafted over 2,000 years ago. How did they achieve this without modern tools? It's a question that still baffles experts today. Now, what did all these gears actually do? They formed what we can only describe as a hand-cranked analog processor. On the side of the device, there was a knob or a handle. When an ancient operator turned this crank, it set the entire system in motion. Sunlight glinting off these golden teeth would have been a mesmerizing sight. Each turn of the handle corresponded to a specific interval of time, propelling the pointers on the front and back dials forward or backward. This allowed the user to travel through time, so to speak, to predict astronomical events in the future or to check the positions of celestial bodies in the past. It was a computational device, a mechanical brain built to model the cosmos as they understood it. And the complexity doesn't stop with the gear train. Let's look at the user interface of this ancient computer. The device featured dual-face dials, one on the front and one on the back. The front dial was the main event, showing the positions of the Sun and Moon against the zodiac constellations. These pointers moved at different speeds, driven by that intricate gear system, perfectly mimicking the complex movements of the heavens. It was a miniature, portable planetarium. Flipping the device over reveals even more genius. The back dials were where the real magic happened for long-term predictions. They weren't simple circles, they were arranged in elegant spirals. One spiral dial, the Metonic dial, tracked a 19-year cycle to align the lunar and solar calendars. This was crucial for setting festivals and agricultural schedules. Imagine having a device that tells you, years in advance, how the calendars will line up. Covering these dials were bronze plates, and what was on them is just as important as the gears inside. These plates were covered in tiny, meticulously inscribed Greek letters, forming what is essentially the world's oldest user manual. The inscriptions explained how to use the device, what the different dials represented, and even offered astronomical insights. They mentioned things like the color of a future eclipse, a detail that shows an incredible depth of observational knowledge. Deciphering these faint inscriptions has been a monumental task, but every word we recover gives us a clearer picture of the minds that created and used this mechanism. What truly sets the Antikythera mechanism apart is its sheer, unparalleled complexity for its time. When you look at the historical timeline of technology, there's a huge gap. After this device was created around the 2nd century BC, we see nothing remotely as sophisticated for over 1,000 years. The kind of differential gearing and intricate gear trains found inside the mechanism don't reappear in the historical record until the grand astronomical clocks of medieval Europe in the 14th century. It's as if a chapter of human ingenuity was written, lost, and then had to be completely reinvented centuries later. This device wasn't just a clock or a calendar. It was a physical manifestation of Greek astronomical theory. It embodied the idea that the universe was a rational, predictable system of cosmos, not a chaos. The creators, whose names are lost to history, were more than just skilled metal workers. They were brilliant astronomers, mathematicians, and engineers. They managed to translate complex mathematical cycles into a tangible, mechanical reality. They took the rhythms of the sun, moon, and planets and captured them in bronze. So, when we call it engineering from another world, it's because, in the context of its own time, it truly was. It challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations and forces us to reconsider the history of science and technology. This single, corroded artifact proves that our ancestors were capable of a level of mechanical and intellectual brilliance that we are only just beginning to fully appreciate. The Antikythera mechanism isn't just a relic. It's a message from the past, telling us that the drive to understand and model our universe is as old as civilization itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of an ancient computer. If you were as blown away by this as I am, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of the past. Until next time, keep asking questions. Have you ever wondered what happens when a civilization just forgets? Imagine a world with incredible machines, devices so advanced they seem almost magical. Now, imagine that world collapsing, and all that knowledge, all that genius, just vanishing into the mists of time. This isn't science fiction. This is the story of ancient Greek technology. Today, we're diving into one of history's greatest mysteries. What happened to the incredible inventions of the classical world? We've talked about the Antikythera mechanism, a device so complex it baffled scientists for a century. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The Greeks had steam-powered toys, automatic doors, and complex hydraulic systems. They were on the cusp of an industrial revolution 2,000 years before it actually happened. So, where did it all go? The story begins with the slow decline of classical Greece. As political instability grew and city-states warred against each other, the vibrant intellectual culture that fostered such innovation began to crumble. The resources, the funding, and most importantly, the collaborative spirit that drove inventors like Archimedes and Hero of Alexandria started to dry up. The workshops that once buzzed with creativity and the sound of grinding gears slowly fell silent. Innovation wasn't a priority when survival was the main concern. Then came Rome. Now, the Romans were brilliant engineers, no doubt about it. Their aqueducts, roads, and massive structures still stand today as a testament to their skill. But their genius was in application and scale, not necessarily in pure, theoretical invention. When they conquered Greece, they absorbed its culture and technology. They admired the Greek machines, and they were very good at replicating them. We see evidence of Roman-era Antikythera-like devices, suggesting they understood how to build them. But here's the crucial difference: they didn't seem to advance them. Think of it like getting a complex computer, but never trying to upgrade its processor or write new software. The Romans used the technology, they maintained it, but the spark of radical innovation, the drive to ask what's next, seems to have faded. They were masters of implementation, but the foundational, scientific curiosity that created these wonders in the first place wasn't the primary focus of their empire. The intricate gears of the Antikythera mechanism were copied, but the underlying astronomical and mathematical principles were perhaps treated more like a user manual than a textbook to be expanded upon. Then came the fall of Rome. This wasn't a single event, but a long, slow collapse over centuries. Barbarian invasions, economic breakdown, and political chaos tore the Western Roman Empire apart. And in that chaos, knowledge became a casualty. Libraries were burned, not always maliciously, but often as collateral damage in the endless wars. The famous Library of Alexandria, a beacon of ancient knowledge, suffered multiple destructions over centuries, each fire wiping out countless irreplaceable scrolls. Imagine a city under siege. Are you going to save the blueprint for a complex water clock, or are you going to save your family and a bag of grain? Intricate texts on mechanics and astronomy were fragile. They were written on papyrus or parchment, susceptible to fire, water, and simple decay. More importantly, the specialized knowledge needed to even understand these texts was held by a very small number of scholars. As that generation passed away amidst the turmoil, with no students to pass their knowledge on to, the chain was broken. This ushered in what we often call the Dark Ages in Europe. It's a controversial term, but in terms of technological continuity, it fits. Society fragmented. The vast, interconnected trade networks of the Roman Empire, which allowed ideas and goods to travel freely, were gone. Life became local, focused on agriculture and defense. The complex machines of the Greeks and Romans had no place in this world. Who needed an automatic temple door when you were trying to build a wooden palisade to keep raiders out? The knowledge didn't just become obsolete, it became incomprehensible. Picture a medieval scribe, hunched over by candlelight, carefully copying an ancient manuscript he barely understands. He might come across a diagram of gears and levers. To him, it might look like a mystical symbol, a strange drawing with no practical meaning. He copies the lines, preserving the shape, but the function, the genius behind it, is completely lost. The how and the why have evaporated, leaving only a cryptic picture. Generations passed. The machines that once existed, the automated puppets, the steam engines, the astronomical calculators, disappeared not just from the world, but from memory. They became the stuff of legend if they were remembered at all. It's a phenomenon we can call technological amnesia. An entire society collectively forgot its own capabilities. It wasn't until the Renaissance, centuries later, that Europe began to look back at the classical world with fresh eyes. Scholars rediscovered the texts of people like Hero and Vitruvius. But even then, they often dismissed the descriptions of complex machines as exaggerations or fantasies. The idea that the ancients could have built such things seemed impossible to them. They had to essentially reinvent the world, slowly and painstakingly rediscovering the principles of mechanics, mathematics, and engineering that the Greeks had mastered over a millennium earlier. The story of this lost knowledge is a powerful reminder of how fragile civilization can be. It shows that progress isn't a straight, upward line. It can halt, it can reverse, and it can be lost. The marvels of the ancient world weren't just impressive artifacts. They were the products of a unique cultural environment that valued curiosity and intellectual freedom. When that environment disappeared, so did the technology it created. It's a sobering lesson from history, a ghost of a future that could have been, whispering to us from the silent, broken gears of the past. Thanks for joining me on this journey into one of history's great technological mysteries. If you found this fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We have so much more to uncover. See you next as we try to crack the code. For over a century, the Antikythera mechanism was an enigma, a lump of corroded bronze that defied all logic. How could an ancient civilization, 2,000 years ago, create something so complex? For decades, scientists could only guess at its true purpose. Early X-rays in the 1970s and 90s gave tantalizing glimpses of gears, but the full picture remained hidden, locked away by time and the sea. The breakthrough we needed wouldn't come from archaeology, but from modern medicine and computer science. In the early 2000s, a team of international scientists brought in a beast of a machine. It was a custom-built, 8-ton X-ray scanner, using a technique called microfocus X-ray computed tomography. Think of it like a hospital CT scan, but 1,000 times more powerful. This machine fired incredibly fine beams of X-rays through the fragile, fragmented pieces of the mechanism from every conceivable angle. For weeks, it scanned, capturing over 3,000 cross-sectional images, digging deeper into the corroded bronze than ever before. The data it produced was mind-boggling, a digital mountain of information that computers then painstakingly stitched together. Slowly, miraculously, a virtual model began to take shape on their screens. Gears that had been fused together for 2 millennia were digitally separated. Teeth that were barely visible to the naked eye were rendered in perfect 3D. For the first time, researchers could see inside the machine. They could count the teeth on each gear, trace how they interlocked, and follow the intricate pathways of the gear trains. It was like having a blueprint from the ancient world. What they found was astonishing. The mechanism wasn't just a simple calendar. It was a complex mechanical computer. At its heart was a main driving gear that turned once a year. This set in motion a cascade of other gears, a symphony of bronze. They discovered gear trains that modeled the irregular motion of the moon, using a clever pin and slot mechanism to speed it up and slow it down, just as it does in its elliptical orbit. Another set of gears was dedicated to a 19-year cycle, known as the Metonic cycle, which reconciles solar years with lunar months. But the most incredible discovery came from the inscriptions. The high-resolution scans didn't just reveal gears, they revealed text. Faint letters, some no taller than a millimeter, were etched onto the faces and inside the casing of the mechanism. These weren't just labels, they were a user manual written in ancient Greek. The deciphered text explained what the pointers on the front and back dials showed. It described the rising and setting of major stars and constellations throughout the year. And then they found it, the key that unlocked the machine's ultimate secret. The inscriptions on the back dial described a system for predicting eclipses. The mechanism tracked something called the Saros cycle, a period of about 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours that ancient astronomers used to predict when the sun, Earth, and Moon would align. The dial had glyphs indicating solar and lunar eclipses, even specifying the likely hour of the event. It wasn't just predicting that an eclipse would happen, it was telling you when to look for it. This confirmation was the final piece of the puzzle. The Antikythera mechanism was an astronomical calculator of breathtaking genius. It modeled the cosmos as the Greeks understood it, placing the Earth at the center, with the Sun, Moon, and planets orbiting around it. It united their astronomical knowledge with brilliant engineering, creating a device that could map the heavens for decades to come. With the digital blueprint in hand, scientists and craftsmen began the ultimate test: could they build a working replica? Using the exact gear counts, tooth shapes, and layouts revealed by the scans, they started to reconstruct the machine. Some used modern tools like laser cutters to create precise bronze gears. Others, like the team at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, committed to using only the tools and techniques that would have been available to the ancient Greeks. Piece by piece, the ancient computer was reborn. They assembled the main drive wheel, connected the intricate lunar anomaly gearing, and pieced together the eclipse prediction system. As the final gear clicked into place and the crank was turned for the first time, it was a moment of pure magic. The pointers on the dials began to move, gliding across the zodiac, tracking the phase of the moon, and counting down the months until the next eclipse. Seeing these modern reconstructions in action is awe-inspiring. They work perfectly. Turning the crank is like winding time forward or backward, watching the heavens play out in miniature right before your eyes. The models proved that the science was sound and the engineering was flawless. The people who built the Antikythera mechanism knew exactly what they were doing. They were masters of their craft, standing at a peak of technological achievement that wouldn't be seen again for over 1,000 years. The decoding of the Antikythera mechanism rewrote history. It showed us that our vision of the ancient world was incomplete. We knew about their philosophy, their art, and their architecture, but we had no idea they possessed this level of mechanical expertise. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity and our timeless desire to understand our place in the universe. It makes you wonder what other secrets are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that crack the codes of the past. Let me know in the comments what ancient mystery you'd like us to explore next. See you next as we explore the cosmos in bronze. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt a sense of wonder? A feeling of connection to something ancient and vast? For thousands of years, humanity has stared at that same cosmic tapestry, trying to decipher its secrets. We often think of our modern understanding of the universe's planets, orbits, eclipses as a recent achievement, born from the age of powerful telescopes. But what if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, someone not only understood these celestial cycles, but built a machine to predict them? This isn't science fiction. This is the story of a treasure salvaged from a Roman-era shipwreck, a device so advanced it has been called the world's first analog computer. This is the story of the Antikythera mechanism, the cosmos captured in bronze. In the year 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers stumbled upon an ancient shipwreck off the coast of the island of Antikythera. Among the marble statues and pottery, they found a strange, corroded lump of bronze. For decades, it sat in a museum, its true purpose a mystery. It was only when scientists began using X-rays and advanced imaging technology that they peeled back the layers of time and corrosion. What they discovered inside was breathtaking, a complex system of interlocking gears, at least 30 of them, intricately arranged. This wasn't just a random collection of parts. This was a machine, a sophisticated piece of engineering that seemingly shouldn't exist in the ancient world. It was a clockwork universe, a portable planetarium that could chart the heavens. The more researchers studied the mechanism, the more astonishing it became. Inscribed on its surfaces were faint Greek letters, a user manual for this cosmic calculator. The inscriptions and the gear counts revealed its functions. The front dial showed the position of the sun and moon against the zodiac constellations. A smaller, nested ring indicated the phases of the moon, but the back was where the true genius lay. One dial predicted lunar and solar eclipses with incredible accuracy, using a 223-month cycle known as the Saros cycle, a pattern recognized by Babylonian astronomers. Another dial tracked the timing of important cultural events, including the Pan-Hellenic Games, the precursor to our modern Olympics. This wasn't just an astronomical tool. It was a social calendar, deeply embedding the rhythms of the cosmos into the fabric of daily life. So, how did they do it? How, centuries before Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton, did ancient Greek scientists create a physical model of the universe? The answer lies in the power of mathematics. The Greeks were masters of geometry. They observed the sky meticulously, night after night, year after year, recording the movements of the celestial bodies. They saw patterns, repeating cycles that could be described with numbers. The orbital period of the moon, the apparent wandering path of planets like Venus and Mars, these weren't random. They were predictable. The creators of the Antikythera mechanism translated this celestial mathematics into mechanical motion. Each gear was a physical representation of a number, a ratio. The turning of one gear, representing the passage of time, would drive another, which in turn drove others, perfectly mimicking the complex dance of the sun and moon. It was the conversion of abstract equations into tangible, moving bronze. Think about the level of craftsmanship required. The gear teeth, some only a millimeter long, were hand-cut with precision that rivals modern watchmaking. The device even accounted for subtle astronomical variations. For example, the moon's orbit isn't a perfect circle, it speeds up and slows down. The mechanism's designer incorporated a clever pin and slot system, an ingenious feature that modeled this anomaly. This wasn't just a simple model, it was a highly refined instrument designed to reflect the true, complex nature of the cosmos as they understood it. It was built on a geocentric model, with the Earth at the center, which was the prevailing theory of the time. Yet, within that framework, its predictive power was undeniable. It tells us that ancient science wasn't just philosophical pondering. It was empirical, observational, and brilliantly technical. The Antikythera mechanism shatters our preconceptions about the past. It forces us to ask, what other knowledge has been lost to time? The existence of this single device suggests it probably wasn't a one-of-a-kind invention. It was likely the product of a long tradition of mechanical engineering that has since vanished from the historical record. Imagine a workshop in ancient Rhodes or Syracuse filled with brilliant minds, sketching out planetary motions on parchment, calculating gear ratios, and carefully assembling these bronze marvels. It's a vision of a world far more technologically advanced than we ever imagined. The mechanism represents a peak of ancient Greek ingenuity, a branch of technology that simply disappeared for over 1,000 years. The next time we see a device with similar complexity is in the astronomical clocks of medieval Europe, 14 centuries later. So why did this technology vanish? Historians speculate about economic collapse, the loss of specialized knowledge, and a shift in cultural priorities. The Romans, who ruled the Mediterranean when the mechanism was built, were brilliant engineers of roads and aqueducts, but they were more focused on practical, civil engineering, rather than these intricate scientific models. Whatever the reason, the secrets of the cosmos, once held in the palm of a hand, were lost, waiting to be rediscovered in a shipwreck at the bottom of the sea. The Antikythera mechanism is a ghost from a forgotten world, a testament to human curiosity and our unending quest to understand our place in the universe. It reminds us that the path of progress is and always a straight line, and that incredible wisdom can be found in the most unexpected of places. It's a humbling reminder that our ancestors, looking up at the very same stars we see tonight, were not so different from us. They asked the same big questions, and in their own brilliant way, they found some truly astounding answers. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the hidden corners of history and science. What other lost technologies do you think are waiting to be found? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep looking up. Now let us look at the future of an ancient machine. For over a century, the Antikythera mechanism has done more than just puzzle us. It has fundamentally reshaped our understanding of the ancient world. It's not just a relic. It's a source of profound inspiration, a testament to a level of genius we thought was exclusive to the Renaissance and beyond. The intricate system of gears, the celestial predictions, the sheer audacity of its creation, all of it has ignited a fire in the hearts of modern engineers, astronomers, and historians. It proves that our ancestors were not just thinkers and philosophers, but master builders and innovators who could translate the cosmos into bronze. This single discovery has powered a global curiosity, a relentless drive to understand not just how they built this, but what else they might have built. It forces us to ask a tantalizing question: if they could create this, what other marvels of engineering did they achieve? The Antikythera mechanism stands as a powerful symbol of human potential, a reminder that ingenuity is timeless. It challenges our assumptions about the linear progression of technology and shows us that brilliance can emerge, flourish, and tragically be lost. The mechanism's influence extends far beyond academia. It has captured the public imagination, appearing in documentaries, books, and even inspiring artists and designers. It's a story that resonates with our innate fascination with lost worlds and forgotten knowledge. Every new revelation about its function sends ripples through the scientific community and the public alike, fueling a collective desire to uncover more secrets from our past. It's a direct link to the minds of ancient scientists, allowing us a glimpse into a world of sophisticated thought and mechanical prowess we are only now beginning to fully appreciate. This isn't just an object, it's a conversation across 1,000 years. But what if the Antikythera mechanism wasn't the pinnacle of ancient technology? What if it was just the beginning, This is a thought that keeps many researchers awake at night. There are whispers and ancient accounts, tantalizing fragments of text that hint at even greater achievements. The great Archimedes of Syracuse, a contemporary of the mechanism's likely creators, is a figure shrouded in legends of incredible inventions. Ancient writers like Cicero, Ovid, and Plutarch speak of his creations with awe. They describe a sphere that modeled the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, a device so sophisticated it could predict eclipses. Could Archimedes have built something even more advanced than the Antikythera mechanism? It's a compelling theory. His documented genius in mathematics and physics certainly suggests he had the capability. Imagine a device not just tracking the heavens, but perhaps performing complex calculations or automating tasks we can barely conceive of today. These accounts have often been dismissed as exaggerations, the stuff of myth. But the Antikythera mechanism changed that. It proved that the ancients could, and did, build such complex machines. Suddenly, those myths about Archimedes' planetarium or his other war machines seem much more plausible. The tragedy is that, if such devices existed, they are most likely lost to time. Archimedes' city of Syracuse was sacked by the Romans. Many of his works, potentially crafted from precious metals, would have been prime targets for plunder, melted down, and repurposed, their genius erased forever. Unlike the Antikythera shipwreck, which acted as a 2,000-year time capsule, most other sites haven't been so kind. But the possibility, however slim, that another, more complex device awaits discovery is a powerful motivator. It suggests that the Antikythera mechanism might not be a singular anomaly, but a surviving example of a forgotten technological tradition. This prospect has fueled a new kind of archaeology, a technological treasure hunt in the depths of the Mediterranean and beyond. Marine archaeologists, armed with state-of-the-art equipment, are no longer just looking for pottery and statues. They are actively searching for the glint of metal, for the telltale shape of a gear or a dial. Remote-operated vehicles, or our OVS, equipped with high-definition cameras and sonar, can now explore depths that were once inaccessible to divers. They glide over ancient shipwrecks, their lights cutting through the murky darkness, scanning the seabed for any anomaly that might be another piece of this incredible puzzle. Magnetometers are towed behind research vessels, detecting subtle changes in the Earth's magnetic field that could indicate the presence of buried metallic objects. These are the same tools used to find modern shipwrecks and submarines, now repurposed to hunt for ancient technology. Every ping from the sonar, every spike on the magnetometer readout, brings a surge of adrenaline. Could this be it? Could this be the spot where another mechanical marvel has been resting for millennia, waiting for the world to rediscover it? It's a painstaking process, a search for a needle in an oceanic haystack, but the potential reward is immeasurable. And the search isn't limited to the sea. Archives are being scoured with fresh eyes. Ancient texts are being re-examined, searching for any overlooked clue, any mention of a mechanical device or a forgotten workshop. Scientists are using digital tools to analyze faded manuscripts and inscriptions, hoping to find a hidden schematic or a description that was previously misunderstood. The search is global, collaborative, and relentless. It's a testament to how one single artifact has galvanized an entire field of study. The dream of finding a sister device to the Antikythera mechanism, or even something more advanced, is a powerful driving force for a new generation of explorers. Ultimately, the story of the Antikythera mechanism leaves us with a profound sense of humility and wonder. It's a stark reminder of how much knowledge can be lost. Imagine a world where this technological path wasn't cut short, where the genius of the Hellenistic engineers was built upon, generation after generation. Would we have had a mechanical age 1,000 years before the Industrial Revolution? It's impossible to know, but the question itself is humbling. It forces us to reconsider the nature of progress, not as a straight, unbroken line, but as a fragile and often winding path. The discovery of the mechanism is like finding a single, pristine page from a book we thought was entirely lost. It gives us a glimpse of the story, but it also highlights how much of the narrative is missing. As one researcher beautifully put it, we've only found the first piece of a forgotten puzzle. The other pieces are still out there, buried under sand, submerged in the deep ocean, or perhaps hidden in plain sight within the lines of an ancient text. The search for them continues, driven by the hope that we might one day be able to reassemble this incredible, forgotten chapter of human history. The future of this ancient machine lies not just in studying the object itself, but in the quest it has inspired. It challenges us to keep looking, to keep questioning, and to never underestimate the ingenuity of those who came before us. The Antikythera mechanism is more than an ancient computer. It is a beacon. It illuminates the depths of our past and lights the way for future discoveries. And as we continue to sweep the ocean floor and delve into our history, we do so with the knowledge that the next incredible discovery could be just moments away, ready to once again change everything we thought we knew. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through time. If you've been as fascinated by this story as I have, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the mysteries of our past. Let me know in the comments what you think, what other lost technologies might be out there waiting to be found. Thanks for watching.
As we close this chapter of the Chrono Archives, remember, the past is never truly gone. It waits patiently in the shadows of forgotten ruins, in the echoes of ancient voices, and in the timeless lessons that still guide us today. It waits to be remembered by curious minds like yours. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey through the annals of time. If today's exploration of lost civilizations, mythical legends, or historical enigmas ignited your passion for the past, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite moment or what you'd love to see next, and most importantly, subscribe to the Chrono Archives and continue the journey through time. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode where we unearth buried secrets, decode ancient mysteries, and bring history's greatest stories back to life. Together, we'll keep the flame of the past burning bright. Until next time, fellow time travelers, keep questioning, keep discovering, and keep remembering. The Chrono Archives, where the past lives forever.